Gatirma Sarvaswa Padam Bhujo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpa Drumada Srimad Ranadgara Simhastanastau Srila Govinda Devo Pristhyalibi Sevya Manosimarami Shrimam Rasarasaram Bivam Sivata Tatastita Karusan Venu Swanai Gopi Gopinata Sriyestunaha Tantakam Chana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Devi Krishnamai Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mai Sarvam Kanti Samohini Paraha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. Whatever you have spoken about me is not false, because unless and until one is aware of the personality of Godhead, one who is the ultimate truth beyond me, one is sure to be illusioned by observing my powerful activities. Bukam karoti vachalam, pangum lagayate grim, yat kripatamahan vande, Shri Guru Dina Taranam, Paramanam Madhavam, Sri Chaitanya Iswaram. Aganda Mandalakaram, Vyapta Yina Characharam, Tatpadam Dashitam Yena, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So, we'd like to welcome everyone to today's class. And before we proceed to make any statement about this verse, we seek the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, so that by their blessings, we can say something for our purification and probably for the benefit of the audience. So, in this verse, Lord Brahma is responding to a question that his great son, Narada Muni, has placed before him. Narada Muni, having observed Brahma's activities, having witnessed Brahma's wonderful activities, has come to a conclusion that Brahma must be the supreme personality of Godhead. So Narada is asking his father, are you not the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And Brahma is responding to that question. A similar issue also happened with Yamaraj. When the Yamadutas went to arrest Ajamil, who was considered a very, very sinful man, because Ajamil had taken birth in a Dvija family, a Brahmana family, but had deviated from the path of Dharma and got married to a prostitute and begot so many children from the womb of a prostitute. And in order to maintain the prostitute, he had to rob, kill, and do many things, abominable things, just to maintain his prostitute wife and children. So the Yamadutas, when they go to arrest such a sinful person, they feel very happy. They are ecstatic that we've gotten a culprit that we're going to deal with. It is said that from the Earth planet to Yamaraj's planet is 729 yojanas, and 8 miles is equal to 1 yojana. So when they arrest a culprit, they punish him severely between the Earth planet and Yamaraj's planet. This 729 yojanas is a long distance, and the Yamadutas will impart some lessons of punishment from the Earth planet to Yamaraj Loka. So that is their duty. So in the case of Ajamil, they felt he should be dealt with very severely. Having taken birth in a Brahminical family and then deviated and engaged in sinful activities, it was a special case. And so they were happy to arrest him and teach him some lessons. But they were frustrated because Ajamil, on his deathbed, chanted the name Narayan, which happened to be the name of his last son from the womb of the prostitute. And so, because he chanted that name, Narayan, even though he was not directing the name to Lord Narayan, but Narayan accepted that this dying man had called my name. So therefore, the Vishnu Dutas, his constables, should go and deliver this man from the hands of the wicked-looking Yamadutas. So instantly, the Vishnu Dutas, which they were so beautiful, shining, effulgent, they appeared on the scene and they drove away the Yamadutas and released Ajamil from their hands. And the Yamadutas, they engage in some argument with the Vishnudutas, saying that this man is a sinful man, and so he needs to be taken to Yamaraj Loka for discipline, for correction. They can understand why the Vishnudutas were obstructing their work, but the Vishnudutas would not allow them. So they went back to Yamaraj and they posed a barrage of questions to Yamaraj. And one of the questions was, is there someone superior to you? Do you also have some authority that you account to? Because the experience we got today is unbelievable. Some very beautiful people appeared from nowhere, shining like the noon sun. They were so powerful. They drove us away and they checked our activities. So tell us, all along we have been thinking you are supreme. But today, that has been disproved. So please tell us. So Yamaraj honestly explained to them his position, and he explained to them the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the same scenario is here. Brahmaji is asking his father, is there someone superior to you? This question, who is supreme, has always been asked by greatly learned persons. Actually, we can say it's an existential question. It's a question that has been there from the beginning of creation. Thousands of years ago, in the assembly of great sages and rishis, Bhrigu Muni was delegated to conduct a research into this matter and present his findings to the assembly of sages. So this is not a new subject. It is an ancient subject which has been discussed in many, many assemblies. Who is supreme? Narada's conclusion that Brahma is supreme is not totally wrong. Because as far as this universe is concerned, Brahmaji is the Supreme Personality. He's the authority. He's the creator and manager of this universe. So therefore, he is the Supreme Personality of this universe. So Narada is not completely wrong. But when it comes to the entire cosmos, the material creation comprising of millions and billions of universes, what to speak of the spiritual creation, Brahma is very, very insignificant. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu narrated a very beautiful story in the Mandya Lila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 23. Ekadine dwarakate Krishna daki bare. Brahma aila dwara pala janila Krishnere. One day, when Krishna was ruling Dwaraka, Lord Brahma came to see him. And the doorman immediately informed Lord Krishna of the arrival of Brahmaji. Vishmita hana Brahma dwarake kahila kaha giyasanaka pita chaturmo kahila. When the doorman asked, which Brahma are you? In fact, when Krishna was informed that Brahma had arrived, Krishna asked, which Brahma? So the doorkeeper went back to ask Brahma, which Brahma are you? So when the doorman asked, which Brahma are you? Lord Brahma was surprised. He told the doorman, please, go inform Lord Krishna that I am Chaturmukha Brahma. I am the four-headed Brahma, who is the father of the four Kumaras. So Brahma said that with some pride. I am the four-headed Brahma, who is the father of the four Kumaras. That means there is nobody with four heads, and there is nobody who can boast of having such special and exalted children like the four Kumaras. So tell Lord Krishna, the father of the four Kumaras, who has four heads, he has arrived at your gate. He is your guest for today. So the gatekeeper went back and informed Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna said, all right, bring him in. So Chaturmukha Brahma was brought in, and Krishna gave him a seat. And he sat down, and Krishna offered him the Atiti Seva, etiquettes offered to a guest. And when Brahma was properly seated and properly received, Krishna asked him, what is your mission? What brings you here? And Brahma said, well, before we go to that subject matter, something is bothering my mind. The gatekeeper came to ask me a question, which Brahma am I? Are there other Brahmas in this universe or outside of this universe that are different from me? Krishna smiled. Krishna smiled. Krishna smiled and immediately ordered all the Brahmans in the universe to come. Dasa bisa sata sahasra ayuta laksha vadanaha koti abuddha mukhabaro nayaya ganananam. So these Brahmas had different numbers of heads. Some had 10 heads, some 20, some 100, some 1,000, some 10,000, some 100,000, some 10 million, others 100 million, some 1 billion of heads. No one could count the number of faces that they had. And all these Brahmas were offering obeisances to Lord Krishna. And their crowns, their golden crowns, were crashing on the ground and crashing with other Brahmas' heads. And there was a loud sound in Dwaraka. The citizens in Dwaraka thought that the world was coming to an end. Where is that sound coming from? They were the obeisances paid by the Brahmas of the various universes who had come to see their Lord, Lord Krishna. So how would our Chaturmukha Brahma feel in the presence of Brahmas with millions of heads, billions of heads? How would he feel? Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami says, Deki Chaturmukha Brahma Pa Fara Haila Hasti Ganamadi Yina Shakshaka Rahila. Now, when the four-headed Brahma of this universe saw all these opulences of Lord Krishna, he became bewildered, astonished, surprised, and considered himself a small rabbit amongst huge elephants. So immediately, Brahma realized his position, that he was so insignificant before the other Brahmans. He's the smallest, because our universe is the smallest. And but in the purpose, the Prabhupada says, our Brahma is the youngest. Is the youngest. So probably our universe is the last to come out of Mahavishnu's breeding process. And probably it was the last universe for Mahavishnu to expand into as Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. And therefore, he has to be the youngest of the Brahmas. And not only that, he's the smallest of the Brahmas. So Brahma is honest about his position. He admitted that there is a supreme personality of Godhead beyond me. He is a primary creator. There is Sarga and Visharga. Sharga means the original creation, and that is by Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu provided the ingredients for creation. The Mahatattva is created by Mahavishnu. The three modes of material nature activated by Mahavishnu's glands. Time factor instituted by Mahavishnu's glands. The living entities who were all within the belly of Mahavishnu came out in that glance, and material nature was impregnated by the glands of Mahavishnu. So Mahavishnu, an expansion of Sankarshan, is the original creator. He is responsible for Sarga, the primary creation. For without the primary creation, there cannot be a secondary creation. Without the ingredients, material ingredients, how can Brahma create? So Brahma is considered a secondary creator, and his creation is called Visharga. So Brahma is honest enough to admit his position, that there is a supreme personality of Godhead beyond him. In fact, in the beginning of creation, when Lord Brahma was born from Hiranyagarbha, the lotus flower, due to his developed intelligence, he began to search for the source of his existence. It is described how Brahma ran up and down this lotus stem, trying to establish his origin. But the whole universe was very dark. Actually, without the sun and the moon and the luminaries, our universe is very dark. And Brahma, being the first being with no light, he was totally bewildered. You can imagine if all of a sudden you are thrown into a cave where there is no light. The first instinct is to find out your source. Where are you? Where do you come from? Why are you in this place? So Brahma was bewildered by the intense darkness. And there were also raging winds. And the lotus flower was dangling left and right, as if Brahma is going to fall off from the lotus flower. So he was in a very precarious situation. And so he had to try to find his source. But due to his developed intelligence, he heard the sound tapa, which means you can only understand things as they are, not by this speculative method of running up and down. You can only understand the truth when you engage in tapasya, when you engage in chanting mantras, when you engage in bhakti, then the truth will be revealed. That word tapa meant a lot to Brahma. He understood, I cannot find my source unless I meditate, unless I perform some tapasya, unless I chant some mantras. I cannot find my source. So immediately he engaged in the activities of meditation. And when his meditation matured, the Supreme Lord appeared before him and spoke the Chatur Shloki to Brahma, the 4 primary verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. You can find this in the 9th chapter of this canto, Canto 2, chapter 9, verses 33 to 36. They are described as the Chatur Shloki, the original 4 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam that were spoken to Brahma from within the core of his heart when he had matured in his spiritual practice. So the Supreme Lord said, Itavat iva gigyasyam tatva gigyasuna tamaha avyaya vyatri kabyam yatsya sarvatra sarvadaha. A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, must certainly search for it up to this point, in all circumstances, in all space of time, both directly and indirectly. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is telling Brahma from the very beginning of the creation that a person searching after the Supreme Absolute must certainly search seriously in all circumstances, in all space of time, both directly and indirectly. And Brahma became the first student of the Vedic literatures. Tene Brahma Hirdaya Adi Kavaye. Brahma became the first student of Krishna, and Krishna became his teacher, who revealed to Brahma in the core of his heart. Tene Brahma Hirdaya. He was taught within the heart. So Brahma knows very well that there is a supreme personality of Godhead. There is a supreme authority beyond him. He knows very well, because he was bewildered in the beginning and had to go through several years of austerity and meditation for the Lord to reveal himself to him. So he is aware. Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport. Now, why is Narada Muni? Narada Muni is a self-realized soul. Narada Muni is described as Devarishi. Devarishi means the saint among the demigods. So if Narada Muni is the saint among the demigods, why doesn't he know that there is a supreme personality of Godhead beyond Brahma? Why is he accepting Brahma's activities, Brahma's prowess to be the supreme personality of Godhead? And Srila Prabhupada answered that question. He said, just as Arjuna was bewildered on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and Krishna had to speak the Bhagavad Gita, and eventually revealed his universal form to confirm his position as the supreme personality of Godhead. Sometimes the Lord facilitates the bewilderment of his great devotees just for the benefit of the conditioned souls. So Narada's bewilderment is actually a direct arrangement of Lord Krishna for the benefit of all of us. If Narada were not to be bewildered, Brahma will not speak all this knowledge to enlighten us. And because the supreme personality of Godhead cannot be understood by our material senses, the Lord is transcendental. The scripture says Krishna is parata para. Parata para means he is better than the best. Krishna is better than the best. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, Shukadeva Goswami describes the position of the Lord. Harihi nirguna shakshat, purusha prakrite paraha. Lord Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, he is nirguna. Nirguna means he has no material qualities. He is purusha prakrite paraha. He is beyond the modes of material nature. He's beyond this material creation. And therefore, he cannot be understood with our material senses. Ata Sri Krishna Namadi Nambavat Griyam Indriyai. Sevam Mokehi Jivado Swayam Eva Suparati Adha. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the supreme personality of Godhead through the materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only then does the Lord reveal himself. Therefore, we must depend on reliable evidence to establish the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are three types of evidences: scriptural evidence, logical evidence, and evidence from the saints or devotees who have had an experience with the Lord. So these are called pramanas, evidence. So we have Shabda Brahma or Shabda Pramana. Shabda Pramana, also sometimes called Shruti Pramana. That is evidence from the scriptures. The Vedic scriptures are called Shrutis because they are received by hearing. So they are described as Shrutis. So there is Shruti Pramana or Shabda Pramana, spiritual sound, transcendental sound vibration. That is the scripture. From that, we can establish the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There was a discussion between Gopinath Acharya and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and his many disciples in Puri. When Lord Chaitanya arrived in Puri, he came ahead of his devotees because Lord Nityananda broke Lord Chaitanya's sannyas danda and threw it into a river because Lord Chaitanya was taking his bath and gave his danda to Lord Nityananda to hold it for him. And Lord Nityananda, considering why should the Supreme Personality of Godhead hold the danda, he started talking to the danda and started laughing at the danda. And all of a sudden, he broke it into three places and threw it into the river. So when Lord Chaitanya came out from his bath, he asked Lord Nityananda, "Where is my danda?" And Lord Nityananda said, "Well, my Lord, I don't know where it is. I was in ecstasy and I fell on it, it broke. So I threw it into the river." So Lord Chaitanya became very angry. "Why should you break my danda? The danda is my only property as a sannyasi. That is my only property. And you have broken it. All right. Either you people go ahead to Puri or I go without you. But I won't go with you." In his transcendental anger, Divya Mana, he said, "I will not go with you. You either go ahead of me or I go ahead of you." And Lord Nityananda said, "All right, Lord, we cannot go ahead of you. You should take the lead. We will follow from behind." So Lord Chaitanya, with the speed of light, he went ahead and got to the temple. And as soon as he saw Lord Jagannath, he remembered, this is the son of Nanda Maharaj standing here. He is the goal of my life. Krishna Jivana Mora. Krishna is the goal of my life. Krishna Pranamoy. Krishna is the life of my life. So he ran, wanting to embrace Lord Jagannath. He fainted. The pandas, the security men, they wanted to beat Lord Chaitanya for wanting to embrace Lord Jagannath. They have never seen that before. But fortunately, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was a scholarly advisor of Prataparudra, the scholar of the Vidya Shiromani, the scholars of the scholars, was present. And therefore, he stopped the pandas from beating Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya was lying there lifeless. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asked his disciples and others to carry Lord Chaitanya to his home, which is not too far away from Jagannath temple. Actually, there's a tunnel. There's a tunnel from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house to the temple. When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was such an important person. He doesn't have to come out for people to see him. He just walks through the tunnel and appears in the temple of Lord Jagannath. The tunnel is still there, but it's blocked. You cannot walk through. When you go to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house in Puri, the tunnel is still there, but some part of it is blocked. It's no more connected to the temple. But in the days of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the tunnel was there. So then, Lord Nityananda and his group who came behind the Lord, they arrived, and they did not know where the Lord was. But they heard people talking about some young sannyasi who fainted before Lord Jagannath and was carried away to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house. So they asked and they were directed there. Meanwhile, Gopinath Acharya is the brother-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. In fact, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Gopinath Acharya, they all come from West Bengal. They're from Godadesh. Only they relocated and they were staying in Puri. So Gopinath Acharya is a devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is simply a logician. So there was a conversation between Gopinath Acharya and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Gopinath Acharya was establishing the supreme position of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was telling Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in the presence of his disciples that this is not an ordinary sannyasi, because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was describing Lord Chaitanya as a young sannyasi who needed to study Vedanta Bhasya, Vedanta Sutras, or Brahma Sutras. That's the engagement. That is the duty of a sannyasi. A sannyasi's business is to study the Vedanta Sutras. So, and Gopinath Acharya, knowing Lord Chaitanya's position, told Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He doesn't need to study any Vedanta Sutra. He's a compiler of the Vedas. Vedanta Krit Veda Vid Aham Chaham. He's the compiler of the Vedas. He's a knower of the Vedas. There is no need for him to study Vedanta Sutras. But the disciples of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, they questioned Gopinath Acharya. They said, Pramanera madhye sruti pramana pradanaha shrutiye mukyata kahe say pramanaha. Although there are many evidences, the evidence given in the Vedic version of Vedic literature must be taken as the foremost. Vedic version understood directly are considered first-class evidence. So the Vedic version is considered first-class evidence. And so when we go into the Vedic version, the Chandogya Upanishad says, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahuna Yo Vidati Karmam. He is a primary eternal among all eternals. He is a supreme living entity among all living beings. And he alone is maintaining all other living entities. One cannot do anything without the supply of intelligence from Krishna. Krishna is the root of all intelligence. Unless a person is intelligent, he cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also gives a number of evidences, scriptural evidences of the supremacy of Krishna. Say Advaya Tattva Krishna Swayam Bhagavan. Tina Kalest Satya Teno Shastra Paramana. Shastra Pramana. That absolute truth, without a second, is Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the supreme truth in the past, in the present, and in the future. That is the evidence of the revealed scriptures. Furthermore, Krishna Das Kaviraj says, Naya Kanam Shiro Ratnam Krishna Stus Bhagavan Swayam Yatra Nitya Taya Sarve Virajante Mahagunam. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. He's a crown jewel of all heroes. In Krishna, all the transcendental good qualities are permanently situated. So, from the Vedic version, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We also have what is called Nyaya Pramana. Nyaya Pramana means evidence from logic. In our day-to-day life, we often apply logic in many situations by comparison, by analyzing things according to our intelligence, according to our knowledge. That is called Nyaya. So in the Nyaya Pramana, there is what is called Adarka Kuki Nyaya. Adarka Kuki, Adarka Kukuti Nyaya. It is also a pramana, it's also evidence. Through logic, one can establish a fact. If you believe in the existence of your great-grandfather and in the existence of your grandfather and the existence of your father, that is logic, because it's logical that if you are existing, you came from some parents, and they also came from some parents, and they also came from some parents. So from generation to generation to generation, if we follow that argument, we will end up with the original person. These different generations, they are not original. The original person is there from which all are coming. So that is logic. The logic is because I have parents, my parents must have parents, and their parents must have parents, and on and on and on and on. That is logic. But then this Arda Kukuti Nyaya is that they accept one part of the logic and they reject the other part of the logic. So it's called, that's why it's called Arda Kukuti Nyaya. If you have faith in one thing, but disrespects or rejects the other thing, that logic is the logic of accepting the one part of the hen and rejecting the other part of the hen. Because the hen is laying eggs, you accept the back part because it's producing eggs. But you reject the head part of the head because the head part of the hen is eating. You have to feed the hen. So you only accept that, okay, I only accept the hen halfway, the part that produces eggs. I don't accept the part that does not produce eggs, the part that eats and wastes food. I don't accept that part. That is why it's called Arda Kukuti Nyaya. The logic of accepting one part of the argument and rejecting the other part of the argument, the same argument. So, in this material world, we accept that we have parents. We accept we have great parents, great grandparents, and so on. But when it comes to the issue of the supreme parent, Krishna, Aham Pita Prada Bija, Krishna says, I am the seed-giving father of all living entities. In Bhagavad Gita, I'm the seed-giving father of all living entities. So when it comes to the original seed-giving father of all living entities, scientists and philosophers and all kinds of people, they reject that. But they do accept, I'm a father, they had a father, and they had a father's father. But when it comes to the Supreme Father, they object because they cannot understand how God can exist without a father. That is the argument. Now, what is the definition of God? The definition of God is one who has no beginning and one who has no end. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Adir Govinda Sarva Karanam. The Supreme Personality of God and the Supreme Controller, Ishvara Krishna. He has no beginning, Anadir, yet he is the beginning of everyone else. That is the definition of God. So from logic, we can say that once we have a father, and he had a father, and he had a father, there must be an original father. And that original father is Krishna. And Krishna confirms that in the scriptures. I am the seed-giving father of all living entities. Then we have evidence from the sadhus, evidence from the devotees. That is called pratyaksha pramana, evidence of direct perception. This evidence of direct perception is limited to only the pure devotees. Unless one is a pure devotee, he cannot have direct perception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But there are devotees who have seen Krishna, they have seen God, and they can give evidence. So, Sankarshan, Lord Sankarshan tells King Chitraketu, Yanarada Giro Byamte via Britamna Nasha Shasham Samsido Sitaya Rajan Vidyaya Darshana Chame. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Anantadev or Sankarshan told King Chitraketu, O King, as a result of your having accepted the instructions spoken about me by the great sages Narada and Angira Muni, you have become completely aware of transcendental knowledge because you are now educated in spiritual science. You have been able to see me face to face. Therefore, you are completely perfect. And lastly, Lord Brahma tells us in the Brahma Samhita, Prema Janachurita Bhakti Vilochanena, Santa Sadaiva Hirdaya Suvilokayanti, Yam Samashundra Achintya Gunaswarupam, Govindam Adipurishanta Mahabhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seen by the devotees, whose eyes are anointed with the salve of love. So Krishna can be seen, but one's heart must be pure. So thank you very much. We'll end here. And if there are any comments or questions, they're welcome. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful Krishna Katha. Of course, as always, dear devotees, if anyone has questions, comments, realizations, or whatever one may want to speak about, you are free to raise your physical hand over the hand emoji, and you'll be asked to unmute to speak. Prabhuji, I thank you so much for, there are lots of references and narrations you gave in this discussion. And I will start my question from the pastimes of Ajamil.
Okay.
Ajamil was a devotee. He deviated. He became a rascal. He was following a prostitute. And at the time of his death, he called on his son, Narayan, and he was rescued. Now, that is a question I have because the Lord Krsna, says something in the Bhagavad Gita. And I would want you to correlate what the Lord says and what he did. Because in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, attaining the supreme.
Okay.
If we read texts 5, 6, 7, so text 5 reads, and whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this, there is no doubt.
Yep.
So what I'm hearing here is remembering Krishna at the point of death.
Yeah.
And then he continues and expands on it. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail.
Yep.
And then 7, it says, therefore, Arjun, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt.
Okay.
So Ajamil called on Narayan, which is the name of God.
Yep.
But his consciousness, his thought was not on God. His consciousness was on his son. So how then does he get saved? Simply by calling his son, and the son's name happens to be the name of God, when his consciousness was not on God.
Yes, thank you. Beautiful question. Very beautiful question. Yeah, these verses that you just quoted, they're actually some of my most favorite verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam Gita. 8, 5, 8, 6, 8, 7. Those verses, I quote them very often because that is the essence of Krishna consciousness. Yeah. So, yes, Ajamil chanted the name Narayan, even though it was not directed to Lord Narayan. And just because he mentioned the name Narayan, Lord Narayan favored him. It was a favor. He did not have the right consciousness to go back home, back to Godhead. But just by chanting the Lord's name out of helplessness, chanting the name of Krishna, there are different levels. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti gives so many levels of chanting. But they are categorized into 3 levels mainly. There is Aparat Nam, there is Namambaz Nam, and there is Shuddhanam. But even this categorization, there are divisions by Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. So in the beginning of our Krishna consciousness, we chant Aparadnam. We are chanting the holy name, but we are committing a number of offenses. We have not entirely given up sinful life. So the holy name is not purely chanted. And so we do not get the same result as those who are chanting Sudanam, pure holy name. But that is the beginning. So gradually, we reduce our sins and we come to the neutral platform where we don't commit any more sins any longer. And that is called Namabhas. Namabhas means we have reached a neutral position whereby we are not yet chanting the pure name, but we are no more committing offenses. It is said that the Namabhas is the doorstep to the holy name, to the pure name. Once one reaches the platform of Namabhas, you are at the doorstep of entering Sudanam, the pure name that will bring you pleasure, that will reveal the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna Nam, Krishna Gun, Krishna Lila, Sara. Krishnera Swarupa Sama, Sarvachit Ananda. Krishna's name, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's form, they are all spiritual. Sarvachit Ananda, they are all transcendental. And they are non-different. But in the beginning stages, we cannot realize this. We chant Krishna's name as different from Krishna because of apparatus. But as soon as we clear the stage of apparatus and we come to the Namabhas, where there are no more offenses, it is said that we are very, very close to Sudanam. And one who chants Sudanam, that's why Lord Chaitanya was saying, if you chant the holy name once, it clears many lives of sinful reactions. That name is Sudanam, the pure name. That is our aspiration. And actually every devotee should aspire to chant Sudanam. Without chanting Sudanam, we will not experience Krishna. Sometimes during Kirtan, the Sudanam manifests, and that gives us ecstasy. Anyone who has engaged in prolonged Kirtan has an experience of Sudanam, but it's temporary. It doesn't stay. It comes and it goes. Because during Kirtan, thinking stops. During Kirtan, sense gratification stops. During Kirtan, the bodily identification stops. During Kirtan, all the bad qualities goes away. We are just focusing on the holy name. And so in that state of consciousness, the sweetness of the name manifests. And that tells us why our Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Swami Maharaj, of sweet memory, he never ever gave up Kirtan. Even when he was sick, when he was operated, and the doctor said he should not dance, he came to Ghana. And the devotees from US, they called me and said, Srivas, you must make sure that Gurudev doesn't dance. I said, okay, this is a very difficult assignment, but I'll try. I'll try. And then there was a wedding in the temple. And so I told Gurudev before the class that the devotees from Washington, they've called me and they said, please, don't dance. He said, okay, I will not dance. But when the wedding got finished and the kirtan started, then Guru Maharaj said, Srivas, go bring me my drum. I said, trouble don't start. I should go bring him his drum. What is he going to do with his drum? That's a sacred drum. But I can't disobey. I have to go and bring him his drum. And then in slow motion, he started playing the drum, going slow motion, slow motion. He was wearing a kente cloth. All of a sudden, he threw off the kente cloth and started his vigorous dancing. So I went and I said, Guru Maharaj, you are breaking the laws of the doctors. The doctors say, don't dance. You are dancing. He said, Srivas, excuse me, I'll just do very small. I'm not doing very much. But he danced throughout the whole period. So later on, I went to his room and I said, Guru Maharaj, what should I tell the devotees in Washington who called to say you shouldn't dance? Now you dance so much. Guru Maharaj said, how can I stop enjoying kirtan? Kirtan is my life. I would prefer to die. I would prefer to chant and die than not to chant. He said, kirtan is my life. He enjoyed kirtan so much, he would dance until he sweats. His whole clothes would be soaked. And wherever he went, he spread that disease of kirtan ras. So this is the goal of chanting, when we can immerse ourselves in the sweetness of the holy name. And that position is very special. Ajamil did not chant the mantra or the name of Lord Narayan in Namabas, neither did he chant it in Sudanam. He actually chanted it out of fear of death. When the Yamadutas appeared before him and he saw that he was going to be arrested, he was looking for shelter. And he saw his little boy standing nearby who happened to have the name Narayan. So he was calling on the little boy to save him from the arrest of the Yamadutas. So he wasn't chanting the pure name of the Lord, but he chanted the name of Lord Vishnu. And so Lord Vishnu, because he chanted his name, Lord said, all right, he has chanted my name. He didn't chant it in impurity. He didn't chant it in Namabas, but he chanted. So let me help him out. Let me do him a favor for chanting my name. So Ajamil was delivered from the hands of the Yamadutas. But Ajamil wasn't given liberation. He wasn't freed from the material world. He was given a second chance. And so that goes to tell us that even if we chant the holy names of the Lord inattentively, there is the benefit. Even if we chant the holy names of the Lord with offenses, there is a benefit. And that is the demonstration that was shown in the case of Ajamil, that there is anyone who is chanting the holy names of Krishna, whatever state in which we are chanting, there is benefit. And so we should become attached to chanting the holy names of Krishna. I listened to one lecture Srila Prabhupada gave, Bhagavatam class, and Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing this chanting. He said, a day should not pass by without a devotee chanting japa. He said, by chanting japa, we are inviting Krishna's presence. By chanting japa, we are inviting Krishna's association. And the more you chant, the more Krishna's presence will be available in your life. So this chanting of the names of Krishna is inviting Krishna's presence. And if we do it purely, then we can actually experience the presence of Krishna within his holy name. And so there is benefit in chanting. Anyone who is chanting the holy name, rest assured, there is great benefit in chanting. And therefore, we should never, ever give up chanting. Whatever the situation is, we must always find some time to chant the holy names of Krishna. It is for our benefit. So Ajamil was delivered from the hands of Yamadutas simply because he mentioned the name of the Lord at the time of his death. Even though he was contaminated, he was impure, he did not chant the name in a pure state. He didn't even intentionally, it was unintentional. It was unintentional that he called Narayan's name. But the Lord took it that this dying man has called my name. Even though he's not in the right consciousness, but the fact that he has mentioned my name, let me free him from the hands of the Yamadutas and let me give him a second chance. So he sent the Vishnudutas to go and deliver Ajamil. But Ajamil, there was something special because the Vishnudutas appeared before Ajamil. They gave the association to Ajamil. That moment of association actually helped Ajamil. It actually freed Ajamil from his sinful life. And so when he was given a second chance, immediately he left for Haridwar. So association with devotees is so crucial. Sadhu Sangha, Krishna, Kripa, Bhakti, Swa, Bhava. Without the mercy of devotees, without the association of devotees, without the mercy of Krishna, and without the nature, the compassionate nature of Bhakti Devi, one cannot be a devotee. So only the devotees' association, coupled with Krishna's mercy, and coupled with the favorable disposition of Bhakti Devi, one is able to practice Krishna consciousness. So Ajamil was favored. It was a favor done to him by Lord Narayan. And that favor is because he had been a devotee in his early part. It is actually mentioned in one of the papers that Prabhupada mentioned, that because Ajamil was a nice devotee in the beginning of his life, he was a pure Brahmana, but due to bad influence, he fell away from his Brahminical life. But that credit was waiting for him. And so the super soul within the core of his heart guided him to give the name Narayan to his last son. All the other sons, Ajamil did not give them any nice name, any good name, any spiritual name. He did not, because he was possessed of lust. But because of the credit, the spiritual credit he accrued in his youthful days, that made the super soul to guide him. That his last son he is attached to. The super soul guided him, and he gave the name Narayan. And that name he gave actually helped him. It is also mentioned that because Ajamil was also calling that name, he was so attached to that son. So every day he was calling that name. Narayan, bring me my shoes. Narayan, bring me water. Narayan, call your mother. Narayan, do this. Narayan, do that. He was actually chanting. And so all these together helped him to gain the favor of Lord Narayan at the point of that. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Yes, very much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And as you were narrating the story about Gurudev, when we were told not to allow him to
glance. I think you were there at that time.
I was there. It's so clear. And I didn't know that part where you said Gurudev told you, okay, I'm not going to dance very heavily. But I saw the part where when he started dancing so ecstatically,
Yeah.
you actually went to embrace him to try to stop him. And he pushed you away so forcefully, you almost fell down. Oh, Krishna, but I remember. So thank you for sharing that past time. I see Govinda Prabhu said, but we'll go to Narayani. Narayani, please you may unmute and then we'll go to Govinda Prabhu, please. Hare Krishna, Narayani.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu Sadev.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yes, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu Srivas.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I offer my humble obeisances to all of you. Prabhu Srivas, my question is about Lord Brahma.
Okay.
I think Lord Brahma, Krishna, is it that Lord Brahma, Krishna show Lord Brahma, other Brahmas 2 times? The time he stole the cowherd boys, and then the time he's visiting him and he was asking him about, he was introducing himself for them to let Krishna know that he's there.
Yeah.
So does it mean Krishna showed him about different Brahmas in 2 occasions, right?
Yes, yes. When Krishna was a cowherd boy in Vrindavan, and Brahma stole the cowherd boys and the cows.
Oh.
Krishna manifested many universes with many Brahmas. And he also manifested so many Narayan forms. All the cowherd boys were actually Narayan forms. All the cows were actually Narayan forms. So Krishna manifested that before Brahma. But Brahma forgot again. He forgot.
Thank you so much.
So when Krishna later left Vrindavan, went to Mathura, and finally ending up in Dwaraka, when he became the king, the Dwarakanath, the king of Dwaraka, Brahma went to visit him. And he had forgotten that Krishna had displayed so many universes with great, great Brahmas. He had forgotten. So when Krishna asked the question, which Brahma are you? Brahma became a little bit angry. Why is Lord Krishna asking me this question? How many Brahmas are there? So again, Lord Krishna had to reveal to Brahma the second time that there are other Brahmas in other universes. You are a very small, small Brahma. So it's twice.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. So much. And thank you for your contribution towards our festival. We are so grateful.
You're welcome.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for the question, Narayani Devi. And Shri Govinda ji, please give me unmute.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. This is set
Hare Krishna, Sri Govinda ji. Happy to see you in your Vimana.
Happy to see you.
Your chariot. You must be among the disciples of Garuda.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Now that his personality is revealed, I have to come to his tail.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much, Maharaj. And thank you for your wonderful, wonderful presentation as always. And I'll be listening to you also from Ami Grace's platform.
Hare Krishna.
And you are spreading the fire everywhere. Thank you very much.
Gurudev, we should thank Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. I'm simply a drop of mercy from Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj.
Yes, very, very much. Actually, Sadhu Prabhu's question and the answer given to the question has actually made me very, very sad.
Oh, why?
I'm very, very sad. See, the disciples of our Guru Maharaj, especially here in the US, we are known as spiritual warriors.
Mm.
And if we go to Guyana, in North America, they also know us as spiritual warriors.
Mm.
And that if we go there, all the devotees will all be informed that the spiritual warriors are here.
Have arrived.
They have arrived, and everybody wants to see us.
That's right.
Here, my location here in Columbus, Ohio, Gurudev name is here, and everybody would love to see who is that spiritual master. Those who don't know him, they wished they could have seen him today because of our kirtans.
Mm.
And actually, the Indians, some are hearing our kirtans from different places, and so they purposely come to Columbus to witness kirtan.
Wow.
And there are devotees here in Cincinnati, about 20 devotees, and most Sundays they all like to move. They travel from Cincinnati down here just to witness kirtan, and also Gitanagri and other places. We have all these energies and empowerment from our father, from Srivas Swami Maharaj. And I remember once he said that if all culture of ISKCON got lost, people will come and find it in West Africa. And I believed kirtan will be one of those elements that anybody can come and find it right there in Africa, West Africa most especially. Recently, I visited Ghana, and I noticed something, that we were about 100, if not more, devotees in a temple room. And I realized that we have only one character playing, only one character. And when the kirtan was at its peak, the peak level where devotees were all absorbed, then Kavchara Maharaj stopped the kirtan. He actually went and stopped the djembe player, collected the djembe from him and pushed it aside. I was so sad that everything was lost. The kirtan was killed right there. And so after the kirtan, I spoke to other devotees, and they said, Prabhu, this is what we have been experiencing here. So, like you rightly said, most of us, we are not philosophers. Most of us, all we know is Prashadam and Kirtan. And if we can keep these two things nicely, I believe we will go back to Godhead. Like you rightly said, personally, when I'm doing my individual japa, my mind is everywhere. But when I'm doing kirtan, I forgot myself, my own body. I don't even remember. Where am I? I don't even see anybody.
That's right.
I get so crazy. I get mad. And so if I have opportunity like that to get lost in Krishna holy name, and I get stopped. I feel that something is taken from me. I feel, so I don't know what is happening in West Africa, especially Ghana. Is it anything wrong if we do Kirtan with 3-4 kartas plus 5 mridangas, if not 5, even 2 or 3, and to keep our Kirtans alive? And also I remember about 6 years ago, I came to Ghana and I experienced the same thing. And when I asked, I was told that Vrindavan Prabhu has a problem with his ear, that if the kirtan is too loud, then he feels pain. And so for that reason, they only play 1 card. And so I quite remember I questioned Maharaj Dhiradhamodara Maharaj in Bhagavatam class, and he overthrew that law, that they should never do that. If you have an ear problem, when it's time for kirtan, you stay outside. Because we cannot stop Krishna kirtan because of my personal interest. And so, Maharaj, I don't know. I believe this point, we will need help from you because you are right there. And if you don't reinstate the spirit of Bhakti Maharaj, and you are not there tomorrow, and it continues like this, I believe Gurudev will not be happy wherever at all he is. So it's kind of question and comment that we would like you to help us.
Thank you for your comment. First of all, I will say that actually, His Holiness Lakavichandra Swami Maharaj, his sentiment is that he wants the holy name to be heard. Sometimes the djembe, the boys play so loud that you can hardly hear the holy name. So when it happens like that, Maharaj doesn't like it. He would stop the djembe. But also, a few times when he was here, we did Harinam outside around the village. He has instituted a daily Harinam in all the temples he has visited. And here in mid-year, they are maintaining it every day. They are going out. Right after Bhagavatam class, they go out on Harinam. So when one of the boys was playing the mridanga, the djembe very soft and sweet, Maharaj said, yeah, this is what I want. This is better. But when in the temple room, they play so loudly that you can hardly hear the mantra, he feels then the kirtan is not complete. We are supposed to hear the mantra and chant the mantra and then dance. But if the sound of the djembe drowns the holy name, then you don't hear anyone, you don't hear the lead kirtan, you don't hear other people's chanting, then what are we doing? So that is the issue. He said we can play the djembe, the conga, but it shouldn't be so loud to drown the kirtan. And I've seen that when we do it outside and the devotees play very softly, very sweetly, he appreciates it. So the only thing we have to do is that to make sure there is a certain level of the djembe sound that does not drown the chanter's voice or drown the Mahamantra. I also remember His Holiness Mahavishnu Swami. He also, when he used to come, he made some comment that when the devotees are dancing, they are no more chanting the holy name. They're just dancing. But we are supposed to chant the holy name and dance. So he was imitating our monkey dance, that they close their eyes, they are not chanting, they are just, he said, that is not kirtan. Kirtan means You must chant, you must hear, and you must dance. Then kirtan is complete. If you are not chanting, you are just dancing, that is not kirtan. So we must hear the holy name, and in order to do that, the instruments must be played nicely. They shouldn't drown the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. When they drown the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then His Holiness Kavichandra Maharaj is not comfortable. And that should be the standard, actually. We should play instruments, all instruments, but we should always make sure that there is a certain level of sound that the holy name penetrates. The holy name should be heard. People should chant it and people should dance it. Then the benefit is complete. So as regards karatals and mridangas, we all remember His Grace Sadhya Prabhu sponsored some mridangas and some karatals. And we made sure that every temple in the zone from Nigeria to Cote d'Ivoire, everybody got a mridanga and 2 pairs of karatals. So I don't know what they've done to their karatals. I can see 2 different types of karatals. The one that Sadhya Prabhu sponsored, 1 pair is there. And there's another old time which is there. I don't see the second karatals. And I even think Accra had more than 2 pairs, but I don't know. So once you brought it up, I'm going to ask the president, where are the karatals? Because the drums, the mridangas also, they had 2 mridangas, but I was hearing this morning the kirtan, the mridangas are not sounding well. The sound has changed. It means they need either repairs or replacement. So we will address it, that they should have enough karatals, they should have enough mridangas, and djembes should be played, but it shouldn't be so loud that it drowns the voice of the lead singer or even the voices of the devotees. Then it's no more kirtan, it's noise. So thank you for the comment, thank you for the concern. We have to keep Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's spirit going. And of course, when you listen to Gurudev's kirtan, you can see that the chanting, the holy name is prominent. Even though he plays his drum and all that, he makes sure the holy name, you can hear it. Everybody can hear it. So that is the standard we have to institute. And thank you for bringing it up. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Well, thank you for the question plus comment, and Prabhu, thank you for the response. If anyone has question, comment, but I would like to say that it's quite understandable, at least who am I, but I understand perfectly why someone may try to calm down the tempo, because maybe the instruments is overshadowing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But sometimes that is also unavoidable in kirtans. It should not be the standard, but sometimes in the heat of the kirtan, it's very difficult to actually control yourself, because once you play mridanga, karatals, you're singing, you're glorifying the Lord, and you become so conscious of what goes wrong, what doesn't go wrong, then your focus, your meditation on the Lord deviates from that to perfection of musical instruments and musical display, which is contrary to kirtan. And also, I don't know exactly like how His Holiness Mahavishnu Maharaj explained dancing and singing to kirtan, otherwise it's not kirtan, because in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, it is said that like Vakrishwara Pandit, he danced 72 hours. So when there is kirtan, there are devotees who are playing. There are devotees who are playing karatals. There are devotees who are playing mridanga. There are devotees singing, and there are devotees dancing. Those who are dancing may be singing alongside, but if even they are not singing and they're dancing, I think it's also still part of the kirtan. But we have some hands up, so we go to Harichakra Prabhu. Please, you be on mute. Harichakra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. All glories to you. All glories to Gurudev and all glories to Prabhupada.
Hi.
It's always nice to hear you. About the same question that Govinda Prabhu was saying. What I wanted to say, sir, they've already hit on it. That sometimes in Ketan, once you begin to try to control instruments, you miss the point. Because sometimes you get so absorbed in the holy name that nothing else exists. You don't want to, you don't even see anything. And like Govinda Prabhu also said, me, for instance, when it comes to philosophy, I'm not inclined to philosophy. Sometimes we try to explain things, but when it comes to that Ketan thing, boy, you cannot take it from me. Sometimes some devotee will chant and you get so much into it that nothing else matters anymore.
Yeah.
You forget about your grudges with other devotees. You forget about something somebody has done to you. And that very person, you go in front of the person to dance with the person. It moves you. The Ketan spirit moves you. So sometimes, like, we can't control it. And for instance, it was 2012 that we brought Agnihotra. No, 2014 to Ghana. Prabhu, that trip, we were so lucky. We were so lucky. I had to lie down and beg Mother Agnihotra, because we were at Kaneshi Market playing Ketan, and the Ketan was so ecstatic. And Kachana Maharaj stopped the Ketan. And Agnihotra said, "Why? What has just happened?" And we said, Maharaj says, "No, the Ketan, the Jimbe is too loud." And Agnihotra was telling me, "No, let me go tell him something." And I said, "Agni, I beg you, Agni, not here. Please, I beg you, don't." It took myself and Yashoda, it took us like a while for Agni to calm down, because she said she's been hearing Gurudev's Ketan. He's been seeing Gurudev's Ketan. And every day he hears that, "Wait till you get to Africa." So she saved money to come to the origin of the Ketan, to feel it and to experience it. And that thing happened, and she was devastated. She was devastated. Until today, nothing can convince Agni to come back to Ghana.
Oh, God.
She was completely devastated, because she said, "What? I have come to the home of the Ketan. I always hear about it. I always hear. Now I'm here. I want to experience it." So, well, I don't know. Whatever little thing we can do, please, let's help ourselves. Because me, if you ask me, I can assure you that I know most of the devotees in West Africa. The only thing that will take them back home is Ketan. And I have strong conviction about that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for
There was one devotee here, Adwaita Acharya Prabhu. He was the temple president in Gitnagri.
Yeah.
And Advaita like Kirtan. He liked Kirtan like anything, especially when the Ghanaians are chanting. And so Gurudev personally told Advaita, Advaita, you want to experience Kirtan? You should go to Africa. Go to Africa and experience, you will experience Kirtan there. You see, Prabhu, to the point, yes, actually, I also experienced that. The djembe players, they want to take the lead, but they have to follow the singer.
Yeah.
And so most of the time I try to control him. If you want to speed up, I say, no, just cool it down. He can be talked to, but to the point of taking the djembe from him and put it somewhere, it also causes another alarm to the audience. What is going on? Even the boss doesn't like what they are doing. So I think this thing has to be addressed properly. It has to be addressed. Prem Vilas Prabhu, I was able to convince him to come to Ghana because of Kirtan. He followed me because of Kirtan. So we should actually do something about it. It's very discouraging and it doesn't actually speak well. People who buy tickets come to the home of Kirtan, BT Swami zone, and they come and meet things like this. It's discouraging. Like Mother Agnihotra now. If somebody go and tell her, I want to go to Ghana, she will discourage the person. Don't go. You're gonna waste your money.
All right. So thank you, Sri Govinda Shri Chakra Prabhu. So we got His Grace Vijay Prabhu. Vijay Krishna Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Yes, Srivas Prabhu, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you, Vijay Prabhu.
Yes, I have a question. May I?
Please
Sure.
go ahead. Go ahead. Sure.
Yes, Prabhu, today your class was based on Srimad Bhagavatam 2:5-10. Am I right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so in the translation, I see that unless we become aware of the personality of Godhead, and this is Lord Brahmaji speaking.
Yes.
Unless we become aware of the personality of Godhead, we will become illusioned by observing the powerful activities of Lord Brahmaji.
Yep.
So based on this, my question is, how is it possible for the infinitesimal part and parcel of God to become aware of a God who is infinite, unlimited? That is my question.
Thank you. Beautiful question.
You're welcome.
Yeah. How can the finite understand the infinite? That is a question.
Yes. How can the infinitesimal understand the infinite?
Infinite. Yes. Well, how can the finite, the small little
yes, finite, the small,
understand the infinite?
Yes, exactly. That is my question.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a beautiful question. Yeah. I mentioned three kinds of pramanas, evidences. One of the evidences is Pratyaksha Pramana. Pratyaksha Pramana means evidence from the devotees. And in fact, one of the verses I quoted is from the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, when Anantadev spoke to King Chitraketu. King Chitraketu had the opportunity to meet Anantadev or Sankrishan, and Lord Shankrishan told him, Yan Narada Angiro vyamte vyahiritam me nushashanam. That because you have received knowledge from great sages like Narada and Angira Muni, you have become completely aware of the transcendental position of the Supreme Lord. So on our own, we are so infinite that it's difficult to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if we take shelter, if we associate with the pure devotees of the Lord and we listen to them, it is possible to understand to some degree. We cannot understand Krishna completely. In fact, it is said that even Krishna himself cannot understand himself completely because his energies are always expanding. So, but when we take shelter of his pure devotees, we associate with them, we listen to them, we render some service to them, then gradually, by their association, we can gain some knowledge to the capacity, to the degree that we can understand. Like you see the case of Narada. Even Narada Muni, in his previous life, he was simply a maidservant's son. Srila Prabhupada mentions that in the purport of Saul. He was his maidservant's son. But because he had an opportunity to associate with the Bhakti Vedantas during the 4 months of the Chaturmasya, the Bhakti Vedantas, they stayed in one place, which happened to be the place of Narada's mother. And Narada's mother was engaged in the service of these Bhakti Vedantas. And so Narada had the opportunity to associate with them. Sometimes he would sit by them and hear them speak Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes he would hear them chant the mantras. And sometimes, with permission, he took the remnants of their prasadam. So, Tina Bala, there are 3 items that will help us make advancement on the path of Krishna consciousness. The dust from the feet of the Vaishnavas, the water that washes the feet of the Vaishnavas, and the remnants of prasadam of the Vaishnavas. And we have access, and of course we can also add the words of the Vaishnavas, the words emanating from the mouth of the Vaishnavas. And we have access to these 4 items. We can understand the Supreme to the degree, to our capacity that we can. So we may not be able to understand Krishna completely. Even Brahma doesn't understand Krishna completely. Even Krishna himself does not even understand himself completely. So what to speak of the Jivatma, the infinitesimal living entity. It is not easy to understand the infinite completely, but we can understand him to a certain degree, to a certain capacity that we have. That is possible. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Oh, Srivas Prabhu, as to be expected, better than okay, very helpful, outstanding, brilliant answer to my question. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Vijay Krishna Prabhu, for the question. If I'm not mistaken, I think the disciple of Srila Prabhupada asked Srila Prabhupada the same question. And Srila Prabhupada said, that is the purpose of all my books. All my books are just to explain it to the world that nobody can understand Krishna. So, thank you for the question. Hare Chakra Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you again. In answering the Prabhu's question,
Vijay Krishna. Prabhu.
Vijay Prabhu's question, and when you said even Krishna himself cannot, it said that he cannot understand himself because his energies are continuously
Always
expanding.
Yeah.
Then there is a saying that I hear always also that Krishna is the knower of everything. How can we correlate the two?
Yeah, even Krishna, he mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Vedeham samantityani. Krishna mentioned that. He says, Vedeham samantityani. I know everything, past, present, and future. Krishna mentions that in the Bhagavad Gita. So how is it? How do we what is the word? How do we reconcile? That's the word. How do we reconcile this argument that Krishna does not understand himself and Krishna is the knower of everything? Krishna is Sarvagya. That's one of the qualities of the Lord. He's Sarvagya. He knows everything. So how do we reconcile these two statements? So the fact is, Krishna has his potency, which is called Samvit. We have Ladini Shakti, we have Sandini Shakti, and we have Samvit Shakti. The internal potency of the Lord, called Antaranga Shakti, is further divided into Ladini, Sandini, and Samvit. Ladini is the pleasure potency, Sandini is relationships, and Samvit is knowledge. So if Krishna has an energy which comprises knowledge, Samvit potency is Krishna's energy. So how can we say Krishna does not know? Or the energy, Samvit, is his potency, is under his control. All the Shaktis, all the energies are under Krishna's control. So how can Krishna not know something? But the word that Krishna does not understand his own energies because of the constant expansion is just to let us come to the understanding that Krishna's energies are always expanding. Krishna's pleasure is always expanding. Krishna's pastimes are always expanding. Krishna's interaction with his devotees are always expanding. So because they're always on the increase, one may say that Krishna playing the role as a Lila avatar, as a pastime Supreme Personality of Godhead, he may pretend not to know. There is nothing unknown to Krishna, but sometimes Krishna plays the role of someone who does not know. And then he will ask a question. But Krishna is in perfect knowledge of everything. And he described how once Krishna saw his own form in the pillar of Rukmini's palace in Dwaraka. Krishna was passing by the palace pillar, and he saw his beautiful form, his Vaibhava form in the pillar. And Krishna became attracted to that form. He was wondering, Who is this personality? So Krishna wanted to embrace that personality in the mirror. So he stretched his arms and held the pillar. But at that very moment, Rukmini appeared on the scene and saw Krishna embracing the pillar. So Rukmini curiously asked Krishna, "My dear husband, what are you doing here? Why are you embracing this pillar?" And Krishna has to tell a story. Krishna didn't tell Rukmini exactly what happened. He said, "My dear Rukmini, I'm just measuring the size of this pillar with my arms." I'm just measuring the size of this pillar with my arms. He did not tell Rukmini that he has seen his own form in the mirror, and he was so attracted to it that he is trying to embrace. So all that we need to understand is that Krishna is unlimited. And because he is so unlimited, sometimes Krishna feigns, he pretends not to understand his own opulence. But some of it is his energy, and some of it is the knowledge potency, which is under Krishna's control. So there's no question of Krishna not knowing. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhu. As always.
Hare Krishna.
You always give us the perfect answer.
Hare Krishna. Gurudeva's mercy. So any other comment or question? Otherwise, we'll call it a day. Somebody is calling me again and again and again. So
Well, I think we may bring it to a close to someone.
Sir.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. So,
Go ahead. I think. Okay, go ahead.
Maharaj, this question is a little bit outside today's class.
okay.
But I would like you to give me a little hint about it.
Okay.
What is the difference between the demigods and the UFOs? And where does the UFOs live? Do they live in heavens or below heaven planet?
Well, the Srimad Bhagavatam does not talk about UFOs. So it's a new creation, it's a new word. Unidentified flying objects. That's what our scientific world calls them. Unidentified flying objects. They don't know where they've come from. They don't know what they're about, what is their mission. They don't know, so they give them that name. But from the Vedic perspective, from the Shastric perspective, we can say they're demigods. Because their mechanical traveling instruments, are superior to our own. Even when our pilots, they spot such objects and they try to follow them, they leave them behind. They can't follow them. So it means their machines are superior to our machines. And sometimes even the shape of their machines is out of the blues. We cannot imagine how they are. They are not like our machines. So they are not from this Earth planet, they are from other planets. And because we are in Kali Yuga, there is no more interplanetary travel. In Dwarapa Yuga, in Treta Yuga, in Satya Yuga, there was interplanetary travel. When Prithu Maharaj performed his yagya, demigods came. Even when Yudhishthira Maharaj performed his yagya 5,000 years ago, some demigods attended. So if there were such interplanetary exchange, travel, then we would know more about these so-called unidentified flying objects. And because the Kali Yuga has become so degraded and they don't like to come here, some of them are curious. They're just kind of spying. They just want to see what is going on here. So they just somehow, they just fly around and then they spot them. The pilots spot them and try to follow them and they disappear. So the answer is there are demigods from different planetary systems. Of course, even in Burmandala, we have 7 planets belonging to the Burmandala. Our planet is called Jambudweep. Then it is surrounded by a sea of salt water. Then there is Kushadweep. There is Shamaladweep. There is Kronchadweep. There is Puskaradweep. There are many, at least 7 in this Burmandala. And there are different living entities also on those mandalas. And they have different oceans, just as we have an ocean of salt water. In Kushadweep, they have an ocean of sugarcane water. So they don't have to buy sugar, they just fetch their water and the sugar. In Samaladweep, their ocean is ghee. They don't have to buy ghee, they just fetch and they cook with it. In some other dweepas, they have liquor. They don't have to buy alcohol. They don't have to produce alcohol. They just drink and get booze. Then there are some other dweepas that are surrounded by milk. Kronchadweep. Kronchadweep is surrounded by milk. So, according to the different dweepas, there are different types of human beings with different levels of intelligence. So it is even possible that these unidentified flying objects might have come from these other dweepas that are part of the Burmandala. There is Burmandala, there's Bhuvamangala, there is Swagamandala. These are all different levels of the planetary systems. So they could come from anywhere. So it's possible that these beings we are seeing are even from our own mandala, but from a different dweepas, different islands. And they are more advanced than us. So we can't cope with them. We just speculate.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Do they make themselves available for the scientists? Even sometimes the ordinary human being can see them.
Yes.
Or the pilot, as you saying, do they make themselves available? Because I know they are subtle beings. So you have to have a subtle eye to be able to identify anything subtle.
Yes. They sometimes, that's why if they don't manifest their machines, how can our pilots see them? So they manifest in a very gross way. Then you can see their machines and you can see the personalities. I understand the American Science, in the American Science Museum, they have captured one of those UFOs, and they are keeping him in order to get some information from him. He is releasing some information about scientific development. I heard something like this. Whether it's true, it's not true, but I've heard something like that. Also, I've heard from African lore, African stories, that somewhere in the Volta region, close to Qatar, that there were some beings superior. They're like king purushas. The king purushas, they're like monkeys, but they're also like human beings. The description they gave when I studied the Srimad Bhagavatam, then I can fit them into that category. That some time ago, there were some beings that lowered down some ladders from the higher planetary system, and they were taking crops from some farm. And they captured one of them. And he had a tail like a monkey, but he's a complete human being. He talks. So they intermarried with these beings. And even up to some point in that area, people had tails. But gradually the tail diminished and diminished and diminished, and it went off. But they said there's a place near Keta area where the story, where this incident took place. And there are people who are descendants of these Kim Purushas who came from a different planetary system to steal their crops. And they laid ambush and captured one of them. So sometimes these subtle beings, they also become manifest, that we can see them, we can interact with them like that. It's possible.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
As far as I know, the descendants are still there, and the tail is there, even though not as long as the original, but the tail is still there.
He's still there.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for sharing. I know, Prabhuji, you had said you had to leave, but we have Shimabara Prabhu.
Okay, maybe
He should be the last.
Yeah, he has some contribution. Let us
So, please, devotees, remember, this is the last speech we're getting today. Prabhuji has to leave. Prabhu, please, you may unmute Shimabara Acharya.
No, Srivas Prabhu promised one time that anytime he shows up, we can keep going until.
Oh, no.
I remember that.
I remember also. I remember. But today we'll ask permission to leave another time. We'll come back soon.
Okay. Shimabara Prabhu, please unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, my obeisances.
Krishna, my obeisances. Maharaji.
All glories to Prabhupada, all glories to the assembly devotees. Yeah, thank you very much. You've explained so many things, but I'd like to make just a little contribution to this UFO issue.
Good.
Your last statement kind of threw more light when you said that they can come from anywhere. So there are actually two types of them. Some, anyway, like you also said, it's not mentioned in the Vedas, but our Veda mentioned the demigods flying with the Vimanas. Yeah. So there is that mention. So, but Srila Prabhupada is quoted of saying that the type of machine or the sophisticated machinery of this UFO indicates that they are from the Elish region. Srila Prabhupada said that the more machinery, the more sophisticated machinery, and the more use of iron is sign of hell. That the demigods don't fly in machines; they fly in, mental kind of plane. which do not have so much machinery. That so this display of heavy machinery is a sign that they are coming from Elis region, and it's right that they are more sophisticated and they are more advanced. And Srila Prabhupada gave the reason, yes, because necessity is the father of invention. They have more need for it in their region because there's so much suffering, and they have a need for sophisticated machinery. So Srila Prabhupada actually explained this, that they're not from this, they're not demigods, that they are not demigods. Now, but that also being said, it is also mentioned that there are two types of them that have been manifesting on earth. So these ones which are coming with heavy machinery, Prabhupada already concluded that they are from the hell. But there are other types that actually make very, costly kind of flash kind of appearances. And it's been said that these are from this heavenly planets, or they are demigods. So there are two types anyway. And lastly, just from the same, how do you call it? The bulletins, the scientific bulletins also mention that sometimes there are accidents of some of these UFOs. And what they found that is the cause the accident is that some other type are chasing another type. So you have some which are like superior chasing these other types. So, and it appears to us like accident, but it's like they've been struck down. And from there, they've seen some entities, like they used to say extraterrestrial beings, and the imageries of these extraterrestrials do not look like very developed beings. They look very vegetal and so on. So they are also considered to be less than human. But they are very technologically more advanced because of the necessity in their region. So anyway, this is just a small contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Very wonderful contribution. Yeah, the Bhagavatam talks about the
Vimanas?
Bila Swarga. Bila Swarga, the subterranean heavenly planets, which are actually parts of the hellish region. And there have a lot of mystics. Maya Danava is very powerful, a great architect, engineer. They create all kinds of machines. So I agree that most of this heavy machinery must be coming from Maya Danava, and they're all demons, actually, who are restricted to the subterranean heavenly planets. And there's a lot of sense gratification there. Bhagavatam mentions the three kinds of women who are never satisfied sexually, and they exploit men, Kaminis, and whatever. So yes, as a matter of need, they create all kinds of machinery just to enhance their sense pleasure. So thank you for that comment.
Yeah.
I think we'll draw the curtains from here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Maybe Vara Prabhu, maybe after the class we will talk more about these things. Definitely, I also see them as demons because demigods are very, very attractive. They are very beautiful, both men and women. But if you see these UFOs, they are very, very fearsome. Some of them you can't even look at them. If you look at the eye and the nose and the whole face and the neck, this cannot be a pious beings. So I agree. I agree with you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Well,
Hare
like
Krishna.
Prabhu just was saying, there are two types. So there are the bad ones and there are the good ones. In fact, as we speak now, in the US Congress, there is a hearing going on about the UFOs.
Wow.
Because there is a group of people, they call themselves whistleblowers. And they know that the US government, well, it's in the public, so we can talk about it here. The US government is very much in knowledge of these UFOs, and they have interactions with them, but they've kept all these interactions secret.
Yeah.
And they're getting so much technological information from them and using them for the benefit of human beings on earth, but they're keeping them secret. And these people are bringing them up. So Congress is hearing them as we speak. It's still ongoing. So these are not like a hearsay or rumor or fake. It's real. Hare Krishna. So
Right.
on this note, we can't thank our Prabhuji enough. We're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute. And we all chanted the loudest Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker, Jai. Hare
Hare
Krishna,
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 Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama
Ram,
Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Ram,
Rama,
Ram
Rama,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Vacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo
Krishna,
Chakavatarunishcha Vasudhyai Vacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha.
Jai Shri Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jagannatha
Jai.
Prabhupada